Welcome back, young readers. Today, we're going to continue on to Chapter 4 of Vlad, the World's Worst Vampire. As they approached the center of the town, Vlad spotted some children. He zipped behind a hedge and beckoned to Flit to hide with him. "What are you doing now?" Flit asked. "All the children are on their way to school, didn't you see?" Vlad said. "They must be. They're wearing the same sort of clothes as the children in Jollywood Academy. I want to follow them." "Okay," said Flit. "But what if they see you? Humans hate vampires." "I know that," Vlad said. "Mother has told me enough times." He put on his Mordomia voice again, saying, "Vampires and humans are sworn enemies. We have hated each other since the beginning of time." He made a face. "She also goes on and on about something called garlic. That's poisonous to vampires. Not that I'm a real vampire anyway," he added to himself. He looked back up the hill at his home. It was so different from the lovely little houses down in the village, with their neat front yards. He turned back and peeked through the leaves in the hedge. More and more human families were walking past now. The children were chattering, laughing, and running along in front of their parents. "Come on, Flit. Let's follow them," said Vlad. He ducked out from behind the hedge and sped after the children on his skateboard. Flit followed, then suddenly dived into the folds of his cape. "Hey," Vlad protested, stopping abruptly. "That's cheating." "Shh," said Flit. "I'm hiding. Humans don't have bats as pets, and they don't speak bat language either. But don't worry," he added. "I'll stay with you the whole time." "All right," said Vlad. He set off again, keeping his distance from the children, but looking at where they went and how they behaved. Some of the adults were walking with huge hounds on leashes. He knew from his reading that humans called them dogs and kept them as pets. He couldn't help feeling a little nervous. The hounds that vampires had were terrible beasts that chased you across the moors and gobbled you up. Vlad stopped behind a large tree and watched as the children said goodbye to their parents and trailed in through the gates. Inside the school grounds, children were running around, chasing balls, and using a rope to jump over, all things that Vlad had read about. Someone had also drawn lots of numbers on the ground, and children were hopping and jumping and turning on them in a rather complicated manner. "They're playing," Vlad whispered to Flit. "Do you think I could join in?" "I think you should stop talking," Vlad whispered. Then all of a sudden something jabbed Vlad in the back, making him shriek in surprise. "Why are you hiding behind a tree?" said a voice. Vlad turned around slowly and found himself nose to nose with a small girl with curly black hair that was doing its best to explode from her ponytail in all directions. "Maybe you don't understand English," the girl said. "Why are you hiding behind a tree?" She spoke very slowly. "I was only looking," Vlad said, trying to sound brave. "What's wrong with that?" "You were spying," the girl said. She folded her arms and narrowed her eyes. "You shouldn't do that, you know." Vlad shook his head. "I wasn't," he said. The girl put her hands on her hips and said, Then she seemed to take in his appearance for the first time. "Why are you dressed like that?" she asked. "It's not dressing up as a book character today. And vampires don't have those," she added, pointing at his skateboard. "What is it, anyway?" Vlad felt a shiver of dread run through him. How did she know he was a vampire? And weren't humans supposed to be frightened of vampires? But this girl didn't seem frightened at all. And what was the dressing up thingamagummy she had just mentioned? He decided it was best to say nothing. Never mind, she said, when he didn't reply. But if you are going to dress up, you really should get the details right because you don't exactly make a very convincing vampire. She sniffed. You must be one of the new boys Miss Lemondrop told us about. The girl went on. You'd better hurry up. We don't want to be late. Miss Lemondrop would kill us. She drew her finger across her throat, made a strangled sound, and rolled her eyes up into her head. No, Vlad cried. I'll make sure she doesn't do that. Even vampires didn't kill people anymore. You're funny, the girl said. What's your name? Vlad, said Vlad. At least this was one question he definitely knew the answer to. Weird, said the girl. Nice to meet you, Weird, said Vlad, holding out his hand. The girl's face creased up with laughter again. No, she squeaked. I meant your name sounds weird. My name's Minxie. Oh, said Vlad. He thought Weird was a better name, but he didn't say so. It's short for Malika, said Minxie. Sort of. I like it better than Malika, anyway, so that's what I tell people to call me. Malika means queen, she added, and made a face as though she was going to be sick. And I am definitely not interested in being one of those. Think of all the pink and glitter I would have to wear. Yuck! Vlad didn't know what to say. He didn't feel very well prepared for this strange world of killer teachers and girls who laughed at him. It was not at all how his book had described human life. So how come you're changing schools in the middle of the year? Minxie asked suddenly. Where have you moved from? She looked him up and down. Vlad hesitated. My family is from Transylvania, he blurted out. Wow, Minxie said, her eyes wide. She twisted her mouth into a thoughtful expression. Okay, she said, and grabbed his hand. You'd better come with me. I'll look after you, don't worry. Flit started squeaking softly inside Vlad's cape. Something tells me that is exactly what you should be worried about. Vlad pulled his cape close. He had a sneaky suspicion that Flit was right, but he was too curious to let the little bat put him off. This was his chance. He was going to human school. Alright, that's the end of this chapter. Thank you for listening, and definitely come back for the next one. Like, share, subscribe.